So thank you. Thank you, Kris, Radhika, Sandeep, and Madhu for being here. Wonderful to have the four of you here. And, after a conversation of a, larger discussion around India and really to unlock the true potential of, what India can be in 2047. And each of you, are distinguished leaders in representing very key pillars of what, India's potential, how it can be unlocked. And maybe I'll begin with you, Kris. You've had a tremendous journey building Infosys, but I know personally, and I know the great human being that you are, and the passion that you have for what India can do and achieve over the next 2 decades in the areas of research and particularly, bringing technology to make a lot of that change and a lot of your work. So when you think of, 2047 and for India, what do you see as, the big things that we need to be doing, and how do we really, engage that, directly with the diaspora as well?
So in one sentence, and, I think you will all appreciate this, India can be the US of the 21st century. Right? What US gave the world in terms of a high-growth economy, a developed economy, the largest power, economic power, military power, etc. I believe India can be in the 21st century. And it will be driven, I believe, by entrepreneurship and innovation. And innovation requires us to have our own research, but also using India as a laboratory to create the solutions for this 21st century. And Sanjeev talked about, building things at scale, creating products at scale, etc., and making the products affordable. So, the last 10, 12 years, we have created one of the best startup ecosystems, the third best. I believe that in the next 10 years, we can create one of the best R&D ecosystem in the world. I strongly believe. The talent is there. The world comes to India for doing R&D. Look around, 1,800 GCCs in India, Global Capability Centers. All the products that you use has a little bit of India inside because it runs on software. So I strongly believe that the opportunity exists for us to leverage India as a laboratory for the world, for creating the solutions that will address the needs of the 8 billion people of the world, rather than 1 billion people of the world. Because if you develop in an economy like US, the products are only affordable for the top 10% of the world. So this is what India provides, and India provides unique solutions. Sanjeev talked about the India stack and the public digital public infrastructure innovation on top. Very unique model. Unlike all the data being in private hands, all the data is in the public hands for anybody to innovate on top. Right? Nobody owns that piece of the ecosystem. So that's what is possible. And personally, I'm working on with the ecosystem to develop that research ecosystem, to develop translational capabilities, to develop what I call the university of the 21st century, which has 4 pillars rather than 2 pillars, which is education and research is the traditional pillar, education, research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. All of these things must come inside a university. Yeah, university has to be seen as an engine for economic growth of the country and the region. So that's what I'm trying to work towards with not me alone, with large number of people, with the ecosystem, with academic institutions, with government, everybody. And last point, private sector has to take more risk. Government is taking risk. They are now investing significant amount of money in research. They are investing significant amount money in private sector innovation. I'm part of this RDI fund initiative from Government of India, which is a $12 billion sovereign VC fund, investing only in the deep tech. So this is what I believe the opportunity is, and where everybody can participate. Because if you believe that we need to service 8 billion people in the world, make products affordable, make the next generation of products, For example, US had the luxury of developing using fossil fuels. And you see all the problems of the world. We don't have the luxury of developing using fossil fuels. So how do we create a developed economy without using fossil fuels? That's what opportunity in India is all about.
No, I think beautifully put, the sandbox of innovation with the non-negotiables of India will not only help India, but help India shape the future of the world. And, I know with you, you walk the talk. So all the things that Kris said, he's personally committing both capital, his own personal wealth, as well as time to help deliver. So thank you for that, a vision for 2047 and for what India can be. Moving to you, Radhika, I mean, Kris set the tone for you on education and what an education institution, should look like. And you're also, both from a legacy standpoint, plus how you are now, helping shape education in India. How do you see that? What needs to change? What is it that we need to make happen so that, India can actually assume that position of leadership in this very critical sector of building, human capital?
Hello. Namaste, and thank you, Rajan. Education is the foundation of any country, and I think it cannot be neglected and cannot be ignored. The good news is the national education policy that rolled out in 2020 talks about all the right things, right? Child-centric schools, the bridging the schooling to job, mentoring, internships, and it's a phenomenal document. But policy is on paper. The real challenge lies in executing it. And just to put some data in perspective for the landscape of education, what it looks like in India, we have 15 lakh schools, out of which 8 lakh schools have only 3 educators. We have 5 lakh schools which have only 2 educators, and we have 1 lakh school which has 1 lakh educators. So what do we need to do? We need to change how we look at schooling. We need to consolidate schools. We need to build bigger, better schools with better facilities, and it is possible. So the good news is that we have looked at the model in China, which has 3 lakh schools for 26 crores students. India has 15 lakh schools for 26 crores, right? So Madhya Pradesh has consolidated 36,000 schools to create these big schools where, so we talk about learning, right? So the school needs to be ready to embrace those learners. So are we creating schools that are ready for the kids to learn? And I think that's where the shift will happen, right? So to think big, to have the right intent, and to decentralize power, right? You have to understand that every state will have its own way of imparting education. So I think that focus will enable us to change education, to bring in innovation, to bring in entrepreneurship, because when schools are staffed well, you will have better results, better innovation, better collaboration, better critical thinking, and better resource schools. So the shift requires intent, Rajan, and I know there are a lot of philanthropists sitting here who do some amazing work with philanthropy. I think my humble request would be to look at the systems, to look at how you can transform schools so they're better resourced, and actually drive this conversation where it truly matters to build consolidated schools rather than having fragmented schools. So that would be my answer. Yeah.
No, I think, you again bring up a great point that what worked for India maybe 5 decades ago, where you needed, every village, every person needed to have access to going to a place of learning, to with technology actually consolidating, and now on a journey, where it's lifelong learning, how do we use technology more, and, and I think it's going to be a big shift. So thanks for, giving the direction in which I think India can move on this, in this space. I'll move now to you, Sandeep. India and Prime Minister talks of a $30 trillion economy by 2047. Banking is a key part of helping deliver that. And we've heard something about financial services earlier. But, banking as as a core sector. How do you see banking evolve over these next 2 decades as we move to 2047?
I think to look into the future for 2 decades, we have to look into the past. And I think we at HSBC have been in India for 170 years. And Sandeep did speak about 100 years. We celebrated 100 years of our branch in Calcutta last year, but we were also first day in Amritsar. So you have legacy in India. You have deep institutions. You have digital public infrastructure, which Sanjeev mentioned to extensively, which is now empowering financial services to get everywhere. You have a capital markets, which is doing incredibly well. You've got corporate balance sheet and bank balance sheets at their best. But now you actually also have ambition. And I think you combine the capability which DPI offers, you combine a good capital markets, and I think we have a pretty good formula for growth. But to achieve $30 trillion is a lot more than just having ambition. I think it is making sure we have the right participation. It is making sure that we are able to finance the infrastructure. Sanjeev spoke about all the pains of whether it is infrastructure at a physical level in every place, or whether it's AI infrastructure as we try and catch up, or it is actually the entrepreneur, because conventional jobs may get disrupted, entrepreneurship will get celebrated, and how do we actually end up financing the entrepreneur? So clearly the ambition is there. It appears we are in a solid position, but it also appears we do have the formula for the coming years. And I think connecting the diaspora here and the Indiaspora here to India will play an important part there.
Also, shows how global institutions like yours integrate into India and actually, bring the best of what is there and also learn back. I'm sure as HSBC, there's a lot of India learning that you take to the rest of the world.
I'll give you a very quick example here. So NPCI, which powers those 21 billion transactions, we've been a founder member of NPCI. We're a large shareholder. We've typically had a seat on the board. So you bring in best practices from around the world, but then you also bring the size and the competence and the depth of India to our businesses around the world.
Yeah, no, I think this whole diaspora discussion is also about how India can do more with the diaspora in other parts of the world. I think that's a conversation that we haven't really had as much of. We've always looked at what the diaspora can do for India, but I think the time has come as we look at the next 2 decades is how does India, take some of that, and maybe Kris, I'll put you on the spot after, Madhu speaks to share your insights on that. But coming to you, Madhu, healthcare is a foundational building block, for the future of India. And as we know, every state government, everywhere you go, is a number of beds. And how does one look at healthcare, wellness? I mean, there's so much technology coming in place. At the same time, so much needs to be done. So as Apollo Hospital, being a leader in this space, how do you see, this particular aspect or this, vertical for India playing out over the next 2 decades?
No, I think healthcare is going to be incredibly important, right? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
So to pick up on what you said, it is also about how the Indian diaspora gives back. India gives back to the world. I think a little bit of what Kris spoke about, the sandbox of innovation. And I think India is going to be a great opportunity. I came back to India for a gap of 30 years, so I'm seeing it from 94 and then down to 2023. And like many of you have said, a lot of things have worked very well. The public infrastructure, logistics, DPI, our continuity in democracy, entrepreneurship. But I think in healthcare, there are more opportunities. I think access still remains a big challenge. More than 60% of India lives in rural settings, but they don't have the beds, they don't have the doctors. So I think there's a bigger gap for us to fill when it comes to meeting access. I think preventive care that you alluded to, it's really an investment, not a cost. And we need a bigger commitment to preventive care and primary care across all segments of population. But I want to come back to innovation that Kris spoke about. Because you said it's a country of 1.5 billion people. It's also the youngest population. It is the fastest growing population. 1 out of every 5 people under the age of 25 lives in this country. So there is nowhere on the planet where healthcare is growing at the rate of India, and it's going to keep growing, and healthcare sees a terminal acceleration as the population ages. So this is where innovation needs to happen, and I could not agree with Kris more that there needs to be a bigger dedication to basic and fundamental research. I think that is a gap for us. We've seen China in the past 20 years really accelerate and go from almost nothing to incredible, a powerhouse of research. And it's not just about funding. I think funding is important, public funding, philanthropy, and industry. It needs a fundamental switch in our educational systems, in our incentive structures, in higher education. But I think this is an opportunity because, the GLP-1s of 10 years from now will be built on the fundamental research that we perform today. So I think healthcare is the biggest opportunity in India, and I'm really privileged to share the stage with others who've contributed a lot to this as well.
No, I think, they always say, right, there couldn't be a better time to be a young Indian. I think the next best option is there couldn't be a better time to be young and to be in India. To those of you who are here, I think this is the country where there's a lot of action happening and will continue to happen over the next 2 decades. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to deeply engage together. But, Kris, I'm going to move to that question which, came up as a part of the earlier conversation. And you are building collaborative research with, the world, right, with the US, the best institutions from India, I remember a conversation where you said a lot of, Indian, say, genetic data needs to go into development of the next level of healthcare and so many things. So when you see India's actual participation globally in these areas of innovation, the next big product coming from India or research, how do you see that shaping up and what should we be doing more of?
So first thing is we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So we want to start from where the state of the art is. And that's where collaboration is very, very important. We need to set up collaborative research engagements with the best in the world. And second is the talent that's here in India, especially working in academic institutions, in startups, in industry, they have now global experience. They are truly global employees. That's something that we have benefited by the growth of the IT services industry, the growth of the R&D being done in India. Third, we need better solutions. And I will keep repeating this till I think you are going to get fed up with my repeating that. And we also need new solutions. So, I invest in neurodegenerative diseases with aging, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia. We still don't understand them fully. We don't have cure for those diseases. So can India collaborate with the rest of the world to find a solution for neurodegenerative diseases? Can we get better diagnostic capabilities that are, again, affordable so that we can deploy it with the large population that we have? Can we create a better healthcare system that avoids lifestyle diseases becoming a burden on society because it becomes too late then to address these problems? So that also means the healthcare system itself has to change, right? Prevention, then disease management, things like that. So this is where we're investing. And what India provides is the diversity and scale of population that we have. So in that diversity, so multilingual, vegetarian versus non-vegetarian, rich versus poor, urban versus rural, malnourished versus well-nourished, that diversity actually will give you, I believe, more clues. And the genetic data, India is one of the few locations in the world where we have gene pools that are, because of, marrying within the same caste, etc. So the gene pool is being preserved. So we have some unique gene pools in India which doesn't exist anywhere else because of intermarriage and things like that. So that data, I believe, can be used when you look at disease conditions and things like that. And the volume. So, if you talk to Dr. Devi Shetty, he will tell you that, he is the best in cardiac surgery because they handle, something like 32 open heart surgeries at 3-year-old kids, for 3-year-old kids every day. Where do you get that kind of volume and experience? And he does it for something like, $2,000 total hospital care. So that's what India is all about. And that's why I firmly believe that we have to set up collaborative research. And I'm trying to do that. So in the neurodegenerative diseases, we are collaborating with Emory in the US. We're collaborating with the Dementia Research UK. We're collaborating with some of the other labs around the world. So that's the opportunity.
And all of this can be done at very affordable cost.
One-fifth the cost. So the solution becomes affordable, right?
The frugal innovation capital of the world.
It's not frugal. It's frugal because of the
outcome.
Because of the per capita cost of the country. It's not that we have the best equipment, we have the best people. It's just that the economy is cheaper. That's all.
I think that's a big advantage that when we look at India. I know Sunita was also supposed to be here, and one of my questions was about more women leadership in India and shaping the world, and better participation of women in the workforce, because it's 50% of India's population, right? And if we really want to talk about the next 20 years, you're the right person, Radhika, and I know it's a subject you're passionate about. Maybe some thoughts from you.
Thank you. Feels great to be on a panel representing women in India. The sad news is that we have a very long way to go. The reality, and I have a very close friend sitting here, Sarika, we both work for women. Apart from running the school, I do run a fellowship for young women so that we have many more women joining the workforce. The leaky pipeline is real. And unless philanthropic capital doesn't step in to support leadership of young women, it will continue to be so. So we love talking about numbers. So if we were to invest in women and girls, India's GDP will increase by $770 billion, right? Just imagine that. But yet women are still brought up with the mindset, Rajan, and this is reality, right? I'm incredibly privileged. So my world looks very different from the world of the underserved. The underserved girls, they are brought up with the mindset that they are just born to take care of someone else, or they are born to be taken care of. And to change that mindset will take us a very, very long time. So my philanthropic giving is about long-term leadership investment in young women, to walk with these girls for as long as it takes for them to find themselves. And I think that's where the philanthropic capital really needs to move. 1% of philanthropic capital or CSR money goes to gender. These are shocking numbers, and somebody needs to step in to change that. So I know maybe I will not see this amazing change in my lifetime, but I hope many, many young women will step in to support other women. We need to have many more women sitting on tables where decisions are being made for them. And that's the India that I would like to see. So I hope that happens.
No, absolutely. And I think, it's so important that we address these gaps, right? And I think it's about identifying the areas and really, I think there's enough intent out there, but it's just sometimes the data doesn't, reach to the stakeholders in a manner that there can be greater execution. Right?
Yeah, I think also, Rajan, I think the corporate needs to really play an incredible role in making sure they are creating safe spaces for women. Mobility is an issue, and I'll give you just an example. It just happened to me last night. I didn't know where this hotel was, right? The road is, the approach is a little daunting, especially when you're driving at night. For the first time in my life, I really did feel very uncomfortable. And I was just thinking about my girls that I work with, and I was like, oh my God, these girls commute to workspaces, through public transportation, sexual harassment. These are all very, very real things. And I think with all of you sitting here, corporates, everybody, you need to make your corporate, your organization incredibly sensitive to the needs of women. It is not something that you're doing good. It must be done, and it must be done now.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And like this, right, Sandeep, there are challenges, structural things. You're a global company, right? You playing a key role around the world. And in a very positive, constructive way, right? When you think of India 2047, what are those roadblocks, right? What do you think can derail this trajectory, right, when it comes to you? And what can we do today to ensure that we make sure that some of these things are addressed early on?
I think if you look at banks or the financial system or the entire economy moving forward, the two ways, right? The corporate, the businesses, the entrepreneur, and then there is the family, the individual. And I think there are different solutions for both. One, the opportunity sets are different. Now, everybody is here, right? There's no longer a question of do we want to be in India or not. It is how deep do we want to be in India? Do we want to have a subsidiary? Do we want to global capability center? Do we want to deepen? Is it a joint venture? Should you have a listing of a local IPO? So I think the questions and the answers are very different at a corporate level. For individuals and families, it is no longer, listen, can I just buy gold and land, right? Which is a typical answer for us conventionally. And how do we participate in the financial space? And I think there, one gift city is solving a lot of these challenges. And I think it is an underspoken topic, but particularly because we are at an Indiaspora event, I wanted to bring gift in. Gift is the place where both as an individual and as a corporate, you will be able to participate. So whether you're a global wanting to come to India, there are pools of capital you can deploy through Gift City. And if you're an Indian seeking your slice of the world, Gift increasingly a solution. And this is our own financial ecosystem, right? This is written by all of us together. The government is playing an incredible role. The regulators are there. They're stable. They're forward-looking. So that's one on the system. Now we can talk about risks, right? And at risk at this point of time, people talk about geopolitics more than anything else. Energy is important for India, but when we look at a world powered by AI in the future, I think the risks more are not about whether we will get to 30 trillion or not, but whether we'll be able to take everybody else with us or not. Will we be able to take the entire country with us? Will there be participation? And I think we could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think time will tell, and of course situations. But as we've been discussing, how does India prepare for this uncertain world? And on GIFT, I think what a big shift that is happening is a lot of industry partners, players are now coming in at the board and others, and that's what I was discussing with many to really make that very effective, as a place to make things.
Again, my request to everybody is find out more. It doesn't matter whether you find out what HSBC is doing, that is very valuable, but even otherwise, what is possible at Gift City? And things are changing dramatically. So even if you found out 2 years back, the answer today is very different. So from aircraft leases to IPOs to capital market access to global investing, everything is being made possible at Gift. And I think in a year later, even more will be possible. So let's plug in and let's take the ecosystem forward with us.
No, absolutely. And I think as Indiaspora, we should continue to engage and participate in shaping that one very important ecosystem for India. Coming to you, Madhu, I want to go a little more personal with you because, you moved here, and one of the things that we keep saying in light of what is happening around the world, maybe, we always had a brain drain. Now they talk of a reverse brain drain, and someone mentioned also earlier, how do you get more people to come back to India? And the diaspora is a big influence. While we will continue to have people go and, capture the world as young people from India, but a lot of experienced people can come back. What can we do more to make that happen? Tell us a little bit about your experience and how to make India attractive, right? I mean, it is attractive anyways, but how do we make sure we do the right things? I don't know what the answer is.
Well, I think you show them a picture of the TSA lines and the Bangalore airport right next to it, right?
TSA line.
And that if that doesn't get people back, I don't know what will. Yeah, so I was talking about, the TSA lines are incredibly large now. No, it has been an incredibly rewarding experience for me, and I think we need to talk about it a bit more. 18% growth rate, which is what the provider segment within healthcare is growing at, that's incredible. It allows for tremendous innovation that you could not do in a low-margin, high-pressure environment. As an example, 74% of US doctors report that they are burnt out and disengaged, right? And we have a very young population that is just ready to take on innovation and drive it at scale. So I think us telling the story, this forum, this format is great, and I think we need to do more of it and really talk about the successes and talk about the real opportunities that make this change possible, because I think there's just a lot of it. I want to go back to, I think, what could derail us and where we need to pay more attention. I think growth has been unequal across sectors. Where we've done, we've made big bets like IT or pharma manufacturing. They have done very, very well. But that's not always the case. I think when code and capital come together and there is demand, right, it works very well. But especially in my industry, I think there are some friction points. The last mile of governance, the last mile of logistics, those are still hard. Maybe it is because we are commissioning 6 hospitals in 8 months. And if you've commissioned one hospital, you've commissioned exactly one hospital. There are no extrapolatable truths. So I think those are some challenges to overcome, and I know we will do that. I think this is an incredible time, and I just want to go back to Radhika's point of inclusion and tie it in with also the urgent need to do that today. Kris talked about the heterogeneity in our population, and as we layer new tools and bring in things like AI, I think we have to keep in mind that inclusion is no longer an option. Right? When you have bias in your underlying data systems in a heterogeneous population like India, we just amplify it through the stack. The AI systems just amplify it. So I think it is incredibly important that we have inclusivity both on the professional side as well as in our patient databases. And truly, this is the sandbox of innovation for the world. The solutions that we develop today are equally applicable to Africa and Southeast Asia. We will develop the workforce for Africa and Southeast Asia. We will develop the solutions, call it frugal innovation or something else, the low-cost solutions that will run healthcare systems for this part of the planet. So I think it's a very, very exciting time. And once again, if you don't want to wait in line for TSA, you know where to go.
That's a great way to put it. And of course, we can go on those subjects, but we have a few minutes. And, I'm just thinking we've got such a lovely audience here engaged. Maybe we can take, a couple of audience questions together, maybe 2 or 3, and then, have our panelists just talk about it. Yeah. Could you get a mic across, please? Yeah, thank you. Maybe we'll take 3 questions, yeah?
Okay. My name is Seema Chaturvedi, LSR alum. So lots of things in common. And I know there are several LSR alums. Love your passion, Radhika. I've been down this path with promoting gender equity to the extent that my fund was called Achieving Women Equity. Every stat that you named is desperately dismal. I will, in fact, invite all the members here. I've been down the path of launching a venture fund to change that to %. Unfortunately, it's been tough. And somebody who spent 30 years in Wall Street and in India, it's been, let's just say, tough is an understatement. Would be great to have leaders like you champion that at a policy level. Would there be some things that we can do at a policy level that drives for greater gender equity? And I love that mention of AI. I'm actually thinking of an op-ed idea on how AI can save gender equity. So we would invite your participation and your comments on the policy level that drive for greater capital allocation, because jiski lathi uski bhais.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most important things for women leadership is mentoring. I'm a great believer of that. I think there is lack of mentoring that happens for women, and policies need to talk about that. And as also about policy and about research, I think philanthropy can play such an amazing role in funding that. So happy to discuss and see how we can take that forward. Yes.
Yeah. Can you give the mic there, please?
Hi, this is Manju Jain here. And I've been listening to conversations yesterday and today and really deeply, acknowledge that there's so much happening here. I would like to draw a little attention, or maybe if I'm missing, I would like to know, how is diaspora connecting with the rural India? There is a lot of innovation and solutions happening there which need to scale up. Really, I can give you plenty of examples working in rural, going to villages, in the schools, in the communities. There are pockets of innovations happening, solutions happening. How can we scale them? Can we take those solutions from one village to another, to another, to another? It needs efforts, it needs funding, it needs everything. So this is a seed for thought for all of us, but thank you for this opportunity.
We'll take. Oh, you want to?
Namaste. I'm Manju. In fact, there was one more thing that, since there are a lot of philanthropists sitting here again, just taking part on that, in the last 10 years, philanthropy landscape has truly changed. There are amazing NGOs doing amazing work, but I think it's time for us to start funding the grassroots. And that's an incredible space, because nobody can understand their communities better than people who live there. And so there has been a shift. Dasra has launched a fund called the Rebuild Fund, and I'm part of that, and which funds NGOs, grassroots NGOs, women-led NGOs, which are working with the most marginalized and vulnerable communities. And I think when you want the Viksit Bharat and everything, this cannot be an elite's role. We have to take everybody along. So funding grassroots is absolutely important, and it's really, really urgent. So I think that's, and also something about the long-term philanthropy, like the trust-based philanthropy, right? We have to have more conversation about that. Have faith in the NGOs to use your money well, and they will deliver. 101% they will.
No, I think the philanthropy side is Indiaspora has championed a lot to your question, and right from COVID to even now, but rural India focus. Is there anything you want to add, Kris?
Rural and agriculture. There needs to be a lot done in agriculture that is regenerative, such that we enrich the soil as we cultivate. So we have to think about new models of agriculture also.
One last question there. Oh, the lady here. Yeah. Oh, okay. Whoever has the mic. We'll continue the conversations after that. Yeah.
Namaste. My name is Shri Krishna Rao. I'm here as one of several students from Kellogg School of Management. First of all, thanks to the Indiaspora Forum for having us here. It is an incredible privilege to be a part of this summit. And on behalf of everyone from Kellogg, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks. My question is around healthcare access, especially in rural areas. I've been in the United States for 20 years, and I think all of us that have lived, Indians that have lived in the US, can vouch that access to quality healthcare is easier in India, especially in cities. We have a fever, we just have to walk down the block, find a doctor. But access to healthcare in rural settings is equally challenging. We have a lot of MBBS graduates that want to go to the US, a lot of people that want to settle in cities, not go to the rural side, etc. And most of it has to do with the pay of what doctors make here versus make there, the protection given to doctors here versus there. So I just wanted to invite some thoughts on how to take this forward and make sure that the talent here stays in India and begins to contribute to India, in addition to people coming back like Dr. Madhu here did.
Madhu, you want to take?
Sure. No, that's a great question. It's about access, and I'll tell you that, having worked with Cleveland Clinic in Florida, access is equally difficult in parts of the globe. It was true in Abu Dhabi when I worked with Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi. So I think access to healthcare, especially specialty healthcare, is a global problem. I think this is where AI, coupled with some of the existing digital technologies, could have a transformational role, right? Today, we have algorithms that can screen mammograms, chest x-rays for tuberculosis at scale. We can use retinal scans and layer AI on top of that to screen for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. These are new emerging technologies. So I think there is incredible capability where we don't have to have a physical radiologist and a gastroenterologist in each location. How we combine this with telehealth and teleradiology is going to be, I think, how we solve for this. Two of my fellows are here in Bangalore. They have a company that does telehealth and tele-ICU across the country, bringing high-level ICU specialty care to rural India. I think that is a format for the future.
Kris, last.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Madhu said. Technology is going to be the answer to provide quality healthcare at to the last mile at an affordable cost. And again, COVID demonstrated the value of technology. We were able to roll out online consultations. We changed the policy to allow e-prescriptions. We now have equipment, diagnostic equipment, where the tests are done by a technician in a village, but then the data immediately in real time gets transmitted to a doctor sitting in a city, let's say in Apollo in Bangalore, and they are able to diagnose the problem, prescribe, and if need be, transport the patient to a, so they have tier 3, tier 2, tier 1 centers. So how the healthcare ecosystem is getting structured. The government is also strengthening the primary care facilities because there is a primary care facility in almost all the villages and things like that. So equip them with technology that allows remote consultation. Policy has to be changed to allow data to be transmitted. So it has to meet the requirements of privacy and things like that. So this is again an interesting laboratory to try out all these things at scale. That's the key thing, at scale and at affordable cost.
No, thank you, Kris, and everyone. I mean, it's been a wonderful conversation, and I'm just, we've been talking about aspirations, about a vision, a dream for what, we want India to be in 2047. And I'm just going to leave the audience, and I would like each one of you and even the panelists to just think about, you're waking up on 15th August 2047, and you look at the India around you, what's that India going to look like? And what's that India you'd like to see for yourself and for the next generation? With that, again, I want to thank all the panelists. Thank you so much for all your thoughts, and thank you to the entire audience for a wonderful conversation. Thank you.